Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Here we are going to start the topic of Unit 1, which is also the part of syntax semantics. Another method is formal method of describing syntax. And if you see the syllabus here, if I go through it, formal method of describing, which is also part of a syntax and semantics. If you see this one, this method, I think probably we are going to see this method. We are going to see this part, and we are going to see all those things. This we are going to see syntax and semantics. We are going to see formal method of describing a syntax, and we'll see some introduction part of BNF. And then we'll go for the BNF, this one, common programming language, future passing tree. Probably within next Monday or Tuesday, we'll wind up this unit. Okay, this part we have already covered this part. Now let's move on to this one, the language recognition. If you see this one, I'll just go through this one, click this one. If you see this one, language recognition, and we are going to see the language generator. Language is defined by two things. What is that two things we are going to see? Language recognition and language generator. Then what do you mean by language uh, device? Language, what do you mean by language recognition? The recognition device read input string over the alphabet of English language, alphabet of any language, describe whether the input string belong to that language or not, which we have seen in our previous videos only. What I am doing is that I'm just taking 2 or 3 minutes of my previous video, and I'm going to continue with this part. You have already seen this part, and the device that generates syntax of one can determine if the syntax of a particular language is correct or not. One is recognition, is that input string belong to that language, and other one is that one has to determine the syntax of it. Okay, we'll see all those twin how with the help of an example. Let's move on to this one. Continue. We have got English language. Let's take example. I'll take a word. We have got an English language. What do you mean by this one? Let's take this one. We have got an English language. A, B, C, D. We have got one English language. Let me go through this one. Yes. We have got one English language, A, B, C, D. And then we have got this, we call it as a language, which is an English language. And then we have got, you cannot define English language with A, B, C, D. We have to define with punctuation also. Then there is a call, this one. Okay. This call is punctuation. We'll take this one as punctuation. So English language, we have got words plus punctuation. Okay. Sorry, words are nothing but alphabets. Okay. So words plus punctuation. In order to that one, if I give that words plus very good punctuations, very good, it becomes sentence. So if I take this one, what is syntax? Statement. Statement is nothing but, in English language, I'm telling you, it's word plus punctuation. Then what is words? Are nothing but your alphabet. Okay, that is alphabet. And punctuation, we define punctuation. How are you? How are you? Where are you? Or something like that. Then these are the punctuations. These are English language punctuation. Then let's take an example. We have got something about, I've given you, I came to college today. Okay, I came to college today. This is one word. I haven't given any punctuation or something like that. This is an English language which we define, and in this English language we came to know, maybe if you are particularly speaking correctly, or let's take an example. I'll just take an example about how are you. I'll put it in inverted commas. This is actual thing what we have written. So this is very good. Yes, it's an English language. Then it should have a grammar also. Then if I write this one into different way like that, are you, how? Can you able to understand this part? No, we cannot able to understand this part. So come down to this part. Go back to back slide. This one, a device that generates syntax of language. One can determine if the syntax of a particular statement in a syntax syntactically correct by comparing the structure of a generator. Means it should be follow particular rule. You can able to understand that word, that you have this is a English language, fine, we can tell this is an English language, or this is also we can say English language. Yes, it is an English language, but it is not correct. Sorry, but it is not correct. But it is not correct. Not correct. In order to how to write a correct statement, simple, how are you? With all pronunciation, I'll put it. If I write in different way, this is an English language and its pronunciation is good, we can say that one. If I write are you, how, without any pronunciation, you cannot. We know that this are, yes, it is an English language. You is an English language. How it's an English language, but it doesn't describe you the word or meaning of the sentence. It should describe the meaning of the sentence. This is the part of it. Okay, this is what it says. It determine the syntax, particular correct word. This syntactically correct. It should be correct, which can give you the meaning of that one. Now, if you see this one, I say that English language we have got alphabet, we have got pronunciation. I've given you the example, that's word, syntax, and we have given an example. Now let's go to the programming language. I'll go here, control A, delete, programming language. He says, particularly we says, or sorry, we got alphabet, we got digit, we got arithmetic symbols, we have got symbol, special symbols. Now let's move on to this one. We have got alphabets, yes, alphabet A, B, C, D. This is the alphabet. Then we have got digit 0 to 9. You can write anything, digit 0 to 9. Then we have got arithmetic operators, that is plus, minus, this, star, percentage. These are all arithmetic operators. Then we have got special symbol. What are the special symbols? Let's take a star, at the rate. We have got rupee 1. Then we have got something about exclamation mark or something like that. Okay. These are special symbols. So all together, combining together, these are the rules of a programming language. PL. Okay. This should come in programming language. Whereas in English language, any language we see it, we can say that a language is a set of words or sentences which give a proper meaning to it. Now, in a in a programming language, yes, there are statements, there are digits, there are arithmetic operations, there are special characters, combination of two special characters. We can have this one also, we can have this one also. These are all combination of this. We can write a programming language. This is what it says here. This is a programming language. Now let's move on to the programming language. Or if you see in a technical way, what it defines? It defines a header file, it defines a statement, it defines an expression, it defines an identifier. What do you mean by header file? A header file is there. A statements, tokens, expression, lexema, identifier, literate. I'll give you an example with this one. Let's move on. This one. I've got it. Main will define the character or something like that. We'll give let's take an example, int and or will define printf. Enter the value, scanf, percentage d, and then we have got for I is equal to 1. So I have to define integer I also. I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to n I plus plus. I'll define one more, count we'll define it as count as equal to 0, count is equal to count plus I. Okay, printf the value of count is correct. I'll define this one. This is a program. We have written it a simple program which take a value of n which display it as sum is equal to sum, or whatever the value. Let's take an example. I'll take this one as my red. I define printed at the value of n. I define as 3. There are some problems. I define this value as 3. Fine. I is equal to 1. 1 less than 3. Count is equal to count plus 1. 0 plus 1. So count is 1 now. Control becomes 2. 2 less than 3. First one 2 less than 3. Yes. Control becomes count plus 2. So whatever the value we get at the end, we define this one. Now go back. This is a simple program. Now go back to this one. Header file. This is your header file. Am I right? Statements. Yes, these are all statements. These are all statements. Lexema or statements or tokens. We can take it as tokens. Keywords. Correct. Keywords. Keywords. Integer. This one. These are all tokens. Lexema. Expression. Am I not? This is an expression. For loop, which gave you on. This is also an expression. This is your lexema. Then what we have got? Identifier, where what we are defining value of n, int n. We don't know, integer is a keyword. We are defining this one. This is called this one. Identifier. So it contains all this. If you see this one, programming language, you contain this one. Where about your the program? What about this program? It contains all the values. Your header files, your keywords, tokens, lexemas, and other things all together. This is your, what do you call, technical way of programming PL. Programming technical way, more technical way to define your PL. So this is what your PL is. With the help of an example, I have given you this one. Now let's move on to other slides, which is also there. Grammar. I'll just control A, control A. We got for the grammar. What do you mean by grammar? A grammar, syntax, structure of a language. It is used to compile. Syntax, this one, okay. Compiler. I'll just take this word, syntax and structure of a language, and it is used by compiler. Now, previous example, if I go through this one, yes. Let's take example. If I compile this one, this is C language, okay. If I compile this one, I think so it is not an, if you don't have an error. Let's take an example. By mistake, I define this as B. I'm not using anywhere. And I'm using, but I'm not using where. So it give me an error. It give me an error. If I use this one, it give me an error. Who give you the error? Compiler. Who give you the error? Compiler. So what is this one? He says here, compiler, creation. Describe the syntax of a programming language. Means when you write a program, when you compile it, it will give you an error. The grammar, it should specify all the. So if I don't specify this bracket, correct? I have closed this bracket, yes. If I don't close this bracket, there is an error. There is a grammar error. Which language? Compiler will tell you up. Based on this compiler, we can say. So you understand this point. The only point is that any language, if you take it, C language or C++, until you compile, I'm just taking it because you haven't gone through Java, so I cannot able to tell you what about Java and Oracle. But this is one. A natural language. What do you mean by natural language? A language that has been developed naturally and used like you like Urdu, French, or Telugu. Means which is a natural language anybody can speak, like English or Hindi or whatever the language you speak. This is called your natural language which we speak. Then we have got artificial language, AI. We call it as AI. sorry, we call it as AI. What do you mean by AI? The language that is used to communicate with the computer. The language that is used to communicate to computers. We'll see later on what are the things which we can able to see. Now let's move on to other one. Now these are the part. Now we will go to formal method of describing. I shall just show you this one. We have described this one. Now we are going to see formal methods of describing a syntax. Okay. We have already seen this one, problem describing syntax and syntax, what are the language, how it is being used and everything. Now we are going to see this part, formal method of syntaxes. Now let's move on to this one, formal. Chomsky described about 4 languages. This fellow described about 4 languages. Chomsky, but we are considered about only 2, context-free and regular expression. This is a context-free. If you see the figure here, this is a context-free and this is a regular expression. Context-free is nothing but your token. Regular grammar is nothing but your syntax. Together, we call it as PL. Okay. So Chomsky was a very good. Probably, I'll just give you what is that? Yes, he was the person who discovered this language, context-free language, and this one, yeah. It is divided into 4 languages, but we are considering only 2: context-free language, a regular expression. The context-free grammar, context-free is being divided into token, and regular is defined into syntax. And combination of 2 will give it as PL. And if you see this figure, this is what it is given here. Now we'll go to the other slide, which is also part of BNF. So now we are going to see this part, BNF. Okay, I'll give you the introduction part. This one I'll stop here. Then we'll continue. So what happened in my next class? I'll start with BNF, then I'll continue with eBNF format with the help of an example. When I complete this one, in the next class, I'll go with eBNF and then with the passing tree and ambiguous grammar. Hope that part will be covering it. So now let's go to Baker-Snor form, BNF. We call it the Baker-Snor normal form. It was in 1960, John Baker and Peter Knorr introduced a formal method describing syntax of a programming language. Of a programming language, any programming is, as it is called, Baker-Snor normal form, or simply BNF. Okay, BNF was basically designed for Algol 60. If you see, there is a figure. I'll just go up. I'll just go to my slides. Long back. If I go to the previous slides, yeah. If you see here, we can see this one. I'll go. Correct. It was defined here in what was the year? If you see 60s, am I right? Come here. We'll see here. Yes, look here. 1960. Described by BSF was basically it is for Algol. BSF context-free grammar was nearly identical. It was something about. It described about something about what you call this one, meta language. We'll see what do you mean by meta language in our next class. And it is a notation technique for CFG language that is used for describe another language. So what do you mean by meta language? We see. Thus, the only thing which we need to consider is this: BNF was discovered in 1960 by John Baker and Peters, and they introduced some syntax which we are going to see in our classes, which is known as which is used in Algol 60. I just showed you slides where it is that, and it is a concept of meta language. What it means? It is used. It came through from different languages, and it can be used in different languages. This one, let's look at this one. Meta language describe whether the series statement characters are valid or not. Generate well form of statements. Break down the statement into parts. The same before also any language was there. Determine. We say that one. If you say any language, Hindi. Let's take an example. You have gone through English language. If you have a big essay, what you determine whether the series of characters are valid or not. You see one line, yes. Generate well-formed statement, yes, it is giving you the well-formed statement. Break down the statement into parts, yes, it is breaking down the statement into part. This is what meta language is that. So this is what they have done it, and I have given you the Baker's normal form which I have derived it. It consists of symbol, non-terminal. I'll show you what you mean by non-terminal and terminal in my next class. It is we will continue with this slide number 79. We'll continue with the slide number 79 in our next class. So normally what happens is that it is a non-terminal expression or something like that. We are going to see all this part from here to some other part, because I have stopped here. So basically what we have done through is that we have given something about this one. We have covered this part, formal method of describing syntax, formal method of describing syntax. We have covered this part, means this is also part of it. We have already described the syntax and syntax, and we have covered different meaning, how it is generated and everything, what is the programming language. We have seen again this one. Please remember this thing, these are very important statement, leximas and everything. Tokens, if you see tokens, rest again, we have see again here tokens. So what is token, we are going to see in our next class, means how they define in a different language. Formats, now we are going to see how it is written a different format. Okay, I'll stop here and we'll see our next class. Okay, thank you very much.